2. Нараянам намаскритя нарамчава народамам девим сарасватим висам татоджаям аджарет. Шринватам свагатха Кришна пуня шравна киртана хридьянта тохе бодрани виданоджа сушитам. Нашта прияшва панджашу нитям бхагавати сивая bhagavati uttamashlokhe bhaktir bhagavati nishtiki. We will be reading today Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 5 and 6. Text 5. Rajavacha. Najanami Mahabhaga Param Karma Pavidhati Bruhi Me Bimalam Janam Yana Machaya Karma. Rajavacha, the king replied, Nanad Janami, I know, Mahabhaga, O great soul, Param, transcendental, Karma, by fruitive activities, Apavidha, being pierced, via my intelligence, Bruhi, please tell, me to me, Vimalam, spotless, Jnanam, knowledge, Yana, by which, Muchaya, I can get relief, Karmabhi, from the fruitive activities. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Vedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The king replied, O great soul, Narada, my intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities. Therefore, I do not know the ultimate goal of life. Kindly instruct me in pure knowledge so that I can get out of the entanglement of fruitive activities. Purport. Sri Narottam Dasa Thakura has sung, Satsanga Chadi Kaino Asate Vilasa, Te Kara Ne Lagilaye Karma Bhanda Pansa. As long as a person is entangled in fruitive activities, he is bound to accept one body after another. This is called karma bhanda pansa, entanglement in fruitive activities. It does not matter whether one is engaged in pious or impious activities, for both are causes for further entanglement in material bodies. By pious activities, one can take birth in a rich family and get a good education and a beautiful body, but this does not mean that the distress of life are ultimately eliminated. In the Western countries, it is not unusual for one to take birth in a rich aristocratic family, nor is it unusual for one to have a good education and a very beautiful body, but this does not mean that Westerners are free from the distresses of life. Although at the present moment the younger generation in Western countries has sufficient education, beauty, and wealth, and although there is enough food, clothing, and facilities for sense gratification, they are in distress. Indeed, they are so distressed that they become hippies, and the laws of nature force them to accept a wretched life. Thus, they go about unclean and without shelter or food, and they are forced to sleep in the street. It can be concluded that one cannot become happy by simply performing pious activities. It's not the fact that those who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth are free from the material miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. The conclusion is that one cannot be happy by simply executing pious or impious activities. Such activities simply cause entanglement and transmigration from one body to another. Narottama Dasa Thakura calls this karma bhanda pansa. King Pranjita Parhisat admitted this fact and frankly asked Narada Muni how he could get out of this karma bhanda pansa, entanglement in fruitive activities. This is actually the stage of knowledge indicated in the first verse of Vedanta Sutra, Adhato Brahma Jignasa. When one actually reaches the platform of frustration in an attempt to discharge karma bhanda pansa, he inquires about the real value of life, which is called Brahma Jignasa. In order to inquire about the ultimate goal of life, the Vedas, Mundaka Upanishad 11.2.12 enjoin, Tad Vijnanartham Sagurum Evabhigachet. In order to understand the transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. King Pranjita found the best spiritual master, Narada Muni, and he therefore asked him about that knowledge by which one can get out of the entanglement of karma bandha pansa, fruitive activities. This is the actual business of human life. Jivasya tattva jinasya nardhyascha karmabhi. As stated in the second chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.10, a human being's only business is inquiring from a bona fide spiritual master about extrication from the entanglement of karma bandha pansa. Text 6. Greshu kurta dharmeshu putra dara dhanarthadi na param vindanti mudho brahman samsara varmasu. Synonyms: Griheshu in family life, Kutta Dharmeshu in false occupational duties, Putra sons, Dara wife, Dana wealth, Artha the goal of life, Dia one who considers, Nanat param transcendence, Vindati achieves, Mudha rascal, Brahman wandering, Samsara of material existence, Vartmasu on the paths. Translation: Those who are interested only in a so-called beautiful life, namely remaining as a household entangled by son and wife and searching after wealth, think that such things are life's ultimate goal. Such people simply wander in different types of bodies throughout this material existence without finding out the ultimate goal of life. Purport: Those who are too much attached to family life, which consists of entanglement with wife, children, wealth, and home, are engaged in kudadharma, pseudo-duties. Prahlad Maharaja has likened these pseudo-occupational duties to a dark well, Andhakupa. Prahlada has purposefully spoken of this dark well because if one falls into this well, he will die. He may cry for help, but no one will hear him or come to rescue him. The words Brahman, Samsara, Vartmasu are significant. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.151, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very clearly explains Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jiva. All living entities are wandering in different types of bodies throughout different planets, and if in the course of their wandering they come in contact with a devotee by the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, their lives become successful. Even through King Pranjita Harisat was engaged in fruitive activity, the great sage Narada appeared before him. The king was very fortunate to be able to associate with Narada, who enlightened him in spiritual knowledge. It is the duty of all saintly persons to follow in the footsteps of Narada Muni and travel all over the world to every country and village just to instruct illusioned persons about the goal of life and to save them from the entanglement of karma panda fruitive activity. End of purport. Om Gyana Timirandasya Vinanjana Shalakaya Chikshavaminita Smashra Guru Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthava Talishamati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Guruvani Pracharani Vishashudvani Prasthi Vishnu Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I humbly bow down and seek blessings from all the assembled devotees, and thank you for the opportunity to read Srimad Bhagavatam for my own purification. I've selected a few points to summarize from lectures from Parampara. We are reading Canto 4, Chapter 25, called The Characteristics of King Puranjana. In today's verses, we are reading the discussion between King Pranjana and Narada Muni. In text 5, King is asking to instruct him because he realized he doesn't know what is the truth and he needs to hear about it from the authority. Absolute truth can't be understood just by mental speculation or by experimentation. One has to hear from someone who knows. because it is beyond the experimentation or perception of material world. Anybody in the material world, just by their speculation, cannot understand what the spiritual world is, what spiritual reality is. They need to hear from someone who have been to the spiritual world, or from someone who understood from the scriptures, from the previous acharyas who understood what is the absolute truth. Narada explained in the previous verse, the goal of human birth is to get rid of all the miseries and to achieve real happiness. Fruitive activities mean karma. By karma, you can achieve different things, and Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport that people can be born in good families with money and have beautiful body, but still be miserable. At the time Srila Prabhupada wrote the purport, youth was becoming hippies. People in general and young people in particular are getting frustrated in material life. They don't know what to do and they start to do many crazy things. Some people become very cynical and disoriented about what reality is. Srila Prabhupada wanted to provide leadership for the young people, and even though he was such an elderly person in terms of material vision, he was able to attract a lot of young people. He was able to bridge the differences between Western people and Vedic knowledge through love and relationship. He captured the intelligence of many young people and inspired them to make radical changes in their lifestyle and attract them to achieve actual liberation from the miseries of this life and achieve real happiness in life. In general, many people are working in their normal jobs, but that doesn't mean that they are free from miseries of life. The divorce rate is growing everywhere in the world, and almost everyone around us would say they are not happy. And even those who say they're happy, they might be lying. They might not know true happiness. Some families stay together because of specific reasons, maybe because of children or because of economics. It might be too expensive to be separate, or because of laziness, it might be too much trouble to change something. Some people stay together because of religion. Some people think they can be happy if they get a new car, big house, a new position. But when they get those things, they don't feel satisfied. Narada Muni tells that by fruits of activity, one cannot be happy. People should ask what is the purpose of their life, why they are in material world, but they get entangled in fruits of activity so much they forget about higher purpose. In text 6, Narada Muni is explaining to King Pranishad that those who is interested in so-called beautiful life simply wander in different types of bodies without finding the ultimate goal of life. If one understands that this material life is miserable, it is the beginning of spiritual life. It is a big illusion to see this material life as a place of enjoyment. Material happiness is very insignificant. Householder is getting entangled by sons and wife involves occupational duty. In Bhagavad Gita, we find several times the word swadharma, which means each person's individual, personal occupational duty. It generally means if someone is Brahmana, he has to perform duties of a Brahmana, called Brahmana dharma. Then there is a Kshatriya dharma, Vaishya dharma, Shudra dharma. But Krishna says, give up all these dharmas, false occupational duties, and surrender to me. According to the material platform, we have so many duties, but our real duty as souls is to serve Krishna. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that everyone has to do some work and everyone will act according to their nature. But engaging in these activities should be for Krishna's sake, not for personal gain or self-gratification. Arjuna, great eternal associate of Krishna, comes to the material world with Krishna to show the proper behavior. He displayed perfect devotee of Krishna by executing his duties as Kshatriya in service to Krishna. And throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find condemnation of materialistic way of life. Family life can be cause of destroying spiritual tendency. It is compared here with dark well. We need not to be in a dark well, but it is not recommended to artificially renounce duties. Arjuna was recommended to not give up fighting, but to fight for Krishna. Similarly, in a household life, we should give up the false occupational duties, not think in terms I, me, and mine. In a family life or in any position in this material world means we have some attachment or there is a tendency to become attached. Everyone should try practice detachment, follow rules and regulations for each ashrama, and try to get attached to Krishna. Different rules for different ashramas are meant for purification. Purification means to become free from material attachments and to become attached to Krishna. Some grihasthas might think family life is nonsense, let me leave it. Some try to renounce, but after a few years or a few months, they renounce their renunciation and become attached to the similar things they earlier renounced. Detachment and renunciation are necessary for spiritual advancement. Krishna conscious family life is recommended in material life. A devotee should internally cultivate renunciation, not falsely or artificially become renounced, not to give up responsibilities for spouse, children, elderly parents, but to go and hear these descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam so we can be renounced from concept of I, me, and mine. We should not think this is my wife, my house, my friend, but we should think that everything is Krishna's and we should offer everything to Krishna. We need to follow in the footsteps of our acharyas and follow the instructions of our spiritual teachers. Try to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. I will stop here. I apologize for any shortcomings during reading and summarizing. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha